For, well, forever, business strategy has been all about experience, instinct, that gut feeling. But what if all of that is about to become obsolete? Today, we're diving into how AI is completely rewriting the rules for how businesses plan, compete, and ultimately win.
So let's just start with a really provocative question. We all love to trust our gut, right? But in a world that runs on data, that intuition might just be your company's most expensive liability.
The real problem here is something psychologists call cognitive bias. And these aren't just random mistakes. Nope. They are predictable, systematic errors in the way we think that cause us to jump to the wrong conclusions, even when we have the best intentions.
And this chart shows you exactly why this is such a big deal. Our brains are basically wired to take shortcuts. See, according to what's called dual process theory, our minds spend a whopping 95% of the time in System 1. That's our fast, intuitive autopilot. It's great for quick decisions. But the problem? It's riddled with all those biases we just talked about. Our slow, careful, analytical brain, System 2, only gets about 5% of the airtime.
And that old way of thinking creates this incredible contrast. The old strategy was reactive, based on a pretty limited human-scale view of the world. But the new way, the AI-powered way, it's predictive. It's about analyzing thousands of possible futures almost instantly to find the absolute best path forward.
So, here's our game plan for today. We've talked about the intuition trap. Now we're going to explore 3 massive shifts AI is causing in strategy, and then we'll wrap up with what this all means for the new rules of competition.
All right, let's jump into the first major shift. This is all about moving from these broad marketing guesses to, well, laser-focused precision. We're talking about understanding the individual, not just the group they belong to.
And look, this isn't just a small tweak. It is a complete game changer. We're moving from just knowing who your customers are based on their age or where they live to actually predicting what they are going to do next based on their behavior.
I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this difference. The old way was all about targeting big, broad segments. The AI way, it can tap into over 50,000 data points for a single user. We're talking browsing habits, purchase history, even real-time location, all to understand individual behaviors and predict what they'll do next. It's wild.
And what's the result of all that data? Well, it's this. With AI-driven ad platforms, you can define an incredibly specific audience, like, say, people in the top 10% of income in just a few countries, and still reach a potential audience of over 200 million people. That is precision at a scale that was literally unimaginable just a few years ago.
Okay, on to our second big shift. So, if AI can predict what one person will do, what happens when it can predict what an entire market will do? Well, strategy stops being a single, high-stakes bet and turns into a series of virtual experiments.
So instead of sitting in a boardroom just guessing, well, what if we do this? Leaders can now just feed all the variables into an AI and get a calculated, data-backed answer to the question, what is the best thing we can do? So here's a look at how it actually works. You start by defining a big goal, maybe entering a new market. Then you input all the variables you can think of, price points, different messages, ad budgets. The AI then gets to work, running thousands of simulations to model how the real market would react, and it spits out the optimal path forward, all without you having to risk a single dollar. Let that sink in for a second. The point here is that AI is transforming strategic planning from this backward-looking analysis of what already happened into a kind of forward-looking prediction about what will happen. It's a fundamental change.
And that brings us to the third, and honestly, probably the most misunderstood shift of all. The goal of all this crazy technology isn't to make human strategists obsolete. It's about augmenting our own abilities. It's about turning our intuition from a liability into a superpower.
This is the absolute key to getting this right. The companies that are winning aren't just automating tasks. They're creating these hybrid intelligent systems where human creativity and wisdom are guiding the raw computational power of AI. It's a true partnership. And this isn't just a theory, right? It has a massive real-world impact. Just look at this example from Lumen Technologies. By using an AI copilot, they slashed the time their sales team spent on prep work from 4 hours all the way down to just 15 minutes. And that saved the company $50 million a year. That's augmentation in action.
This really reframes the whole conversation, doesn't it? The threat isn't some abstract technology coming for your job. The real threat is a direct competitor who has already adapted to this new world and is using these tools to be faster, smarter, and way more effective than you are.
So, what does this all mean for the future? Well, it means the fundamental rules of how businesses compete are literally being rewritten right now as we speak.
So, let's quickly recap the three massive shifts we've just covered. First, strategy is now radically precise through hyper-personalization. Second, it's incredibly predictive thanks to simulation engines. And third, it's exponentially more powerful through human-AI augmentation.
At the end of the day, the main takeaway is simple, but it is profound. Integrating AI into your core decision-making, it's not really an option anymore. It's the single biggest competitive advantage a business can possibly have.
Ultimately, winning in this new era, it's not going to be about who has the fanciest algorithm. It's going to be about who masters this new partnership, the ones who can blend uniquely human skills like creativity, empathy, and wisdom with the incredible speed and power of AI.
And that leaves us with one final and I think pretty crucial question for you to think about. In a world where your competitors are already powering up their teams with AI, are you still playing by the old rules?